folks. This is Wayne S. Pierce for the American Liberty Radio Network. Yes, how are you? It is the 24th of June, 2017. How are you? Are you good? I mean, seriously. You woke up, or you're at the end of your day, or whenever you're hearing this. How are you? Seriously. Really, you know, it's when you wake up in the morning, you always think to yourself, wow, what am I, geez, I got to do this again, It's always one thing after another, and it seems like you're just in a rut, right? Well, hey, you're not. You're not in a rut. You can climb out of it anytime. Yeah. You didn't know that, did you? You didn't know that. With everything going on, you might think, well, geez, I got tradition says and family says, and it's been done this way for many years. Why would I change? Because it's boring and useless and serves no purpose? I don't know. Pick one. So anyway, it is the 24th of June, 2017. The last 24 hours has just been wow. Yeah, just wow. I don't, oh my God. Where do I start? I mean, gee, my knees. Loretta Lynch is under investigation. Who else is under investigation? Bernie Sanders and his wife are under investigation, and all of that. And I don't say this lightly, but there's a lot of crap coming down, and people are just oblivious to it. Is this what it is? Now, there's a lot of changes, of course. Lots of things have been manipulated. Hence the mainstream propaganda media telling you what to believe and shoving you in that rut to make you believe it continually. Breitbart is reporting after Breitbart investigation, CNN retracts conspiracy theory hit piece. Very fake news. Yeah. Quote, on June 22nd, 2017, CNN published a story connecting Anthony Scaramucci with investigations into the Russian Direct Investment Fund, unquote. CNN said in a statement late Friday night, quote, that story did not meet CNN's editorial standards and has been retracted. Links to the story have been disabled. CNN apologizes to Mr. Scaramucci. Let me jump back here. I'll give this to you in layman's terms. That story did not meet CNN's editorial standards and has been retracted. That's what I call journalistic speak for we lied, we're sorry, we're taking the story down. I mean, that's it's editorial standards. There are none in mainstream journalism. There isn't. There's no standards at all. I've taken journalism. I know what I'm talking about. This is years ago when there were very definite standards and you had to, and you couldn't do that. And, now it's like, throw all that out the door. If a lie is to be believed, it is to be continuously talked about and people and drilled into people's heads. That's what the current standards are. So there is no editorial standards. It's all fake. It's all lies. CNN is losing viewers left and right. MSNBC is losing viewers. All that. And there's let me highlight this. It says read more, but let me highlight this and I'll put it up on American Liberty Radio podcast on Facebook. The retraction is a complete cave by a network that is notorious for trying to pick fights with President Trump and his allies. President Trump has identified CNN as, quote-unquote, very fake news network. It comes on the heels of Breitbart News reporting on the inaccurate CNN hit piece citing senior administration officials and sources close to Senate GOP leadership. Right below that it says read more, and below that it says Senate investigates Loretta Lynch for obstruction of justice. And there's a video on that as well. So I'm going to put that on American Liberty Radio podcast. There's two things that I've learned, literally learned over the years. And some of it, the two things I've learned is a culmination and an accumulation of just the stuff that has been thrown at me for many years that I've had to, bat away because I know it was a bunch of BS. And stuff that I've held on to because it was worth investigating. And so the two things that I've learned is, number one, everybody lies. Not, until, and part of that is, you know the truth, you know the facts. But somebody else will come along and tell you that that's not right. That what you found is not, that's not right. Those people are lying. Always have, always will. You know the truth. You know the facts. You've researched it. There it is. And on the B side of that, these people telling you that you're wrong are wrong themselves because they're the ones spreading the and disseminating the false narrative, the lies that are to be believed. So that's one part of that I've learned. The other part is, the second part to that is that I've learned that not only do people lie, but people literally don't care if they do. There's that apathy that they have of the truth and the facts. They don't care. 1 + 1 is 2, and they'll look at you and say it's not. Okay? They'll tell you certain things that have happened in the city. Oh, over here in this part of the city, this has happened, blah, blah. And when you go yourself and investigate it, you'll find out it's a bunch of bull crap. And they've lied to you again. Or, let me just break it down in a more simpler form to understand. You've had a friend of yours in your life tell you certain things about someone else. You, as smart as you are, thought that something was kind of fishy about that. So you went to the person that was being talked about. You talked to them yourself. You found out that the person was telling you a bunch of crap. In other words, rumors, innuendos, all this, whatever you want to call it, basic lies. People were lying to you about your friend over here down the street. They were, and you had to go to your friend and say, hey, is this true? And they're going, no, here, I'll show you. It's not true. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. So that article is up on American Liberty Radio podcast. But those are the things I've learned. And just to take that as a whole within yourself and say, you know what? I'm not going to listen to anybody else anymore. I'm not going to listen to, and in this case, I'm not going to listen to the mainstream propaganda media. I'm not, because they're full of bullcrap. They always have been. And I'll tell you right now, it's not every, and I know this from myself. From my own perspective, I know that there's a lot of stuff out there that's overwhelming. I know this. I got this. It's understandable. It's so overwhelming that you think, oh my God, why is this person lying about this person? Why is that other person over here the third person on the on this, on this bus lying about this other person? Why is, it's just, you've got to just pull yourself back from it. And you've got to realize that, number one, the only truth that you're ever going to find, the only facts that you're ever going to find, the only foundation of intellectual freedom based upon the facts and the truth that you're ever going to have is what you yourself go search for. You've got, and again, let me say, and I've said this before, you got to sift through the bullcrap. If your gut tells you that somebody's, lying to your face, well, why the hell would you believe them in the first place? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Mama didn't raise no fool and grandma taught me better. And yes, I'm going to say this. It's an old cliche, which we've all heard. Honesty is the best policy. This is true. Okay, I don't give one rip about anybody else's opinion about, you're, accusing me or asserting that I'm a conspiracy theorist or, I don't know the whole story and yada, yada, yada. I don't believe them because I know me. Look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself in the heart. Look at yourself in the soul. You know you. Nobody else does. So why would you want to believe anybody else? That talks about you or talks about a certain thing or talks about your friend down the road. Why? You know you and you know your friends. So don't get caught up in the mainstream propaganda bullcrap because they're a bunch of bullcrap. MSNBC, Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, name it. Just go down the line. I mean, and even all of their affiliates in your local areas, when you watch them on TV, if you have network news on your TV, if you watch your local news and you watch just the nonverbal communication that they are, engaging in, and you look and watch them as they speak and read off of that teleprompter, you're going to know they don't even believe the bull crap that they're disseminating. And I wonder, do they leave the studio at night going, did I just say that? Did I just report on that? That's, do they do that? And I think this is why, and I'm not accusing anyone of anything at this point, but I think that's why a lot of journalists and a lot of news reporters go to the bar a lot, because they want to drown their, sorrows or something. It's like, oh my God, I just lied to the people, Now, going on to something else here. Infowars.com. Let's go there. There's a lot to say about President Trump, and I want to say this, good, bad, indifferent. I didn't, I didn't vote for him, okay? Just to give you a transparency here. I didn't vote for him. Are there, is he doing a good job? Well, he's doing what he can with the limits that are placed on him at this point because, you've got, the Democrats and the Republicans and the Progressive Party trying to stop him from doing everything that he wants to do. And so, he's doing the best he can. Is he wrong? Is he right? I don't know. You guys be the judge of that. I don't agree with everything that he's doing. There's certain things that he has to do, and about 90% of it has to be done immediately. But again, he's limited by those things, those people that are in his way. Newsbusters is reporting. Yes, Newsbusters. That's what I said. CBS, NBC ignore Nebraska Democrat cheering he's quote-unquote glad Scalise quote-unquote got shot. Montag claims he was taken out of context but was fired anyway by the state's party chair. In Friday's edition of liberal media double standards, the CBS Evening News and NBC Nightly News saw no reason to cover new audio out of Nebraska in which a state Democratic Party official used an expletive to proclaim he's glad Republican Congressman Steve Scalise of Louisiana, quote, got shot, unquote, on June 14th. While CBS and NBC were caught up covering viral video of a dancing gorilla, ABC's World News Tonight snuck in Montag's ludicrous rhetoric in senior national correspondent, Matt Gutman's story about actor Johnny Depp's joke about presidential assassinations. Gutman or Gutman, is it Gutman or Gutman? I don't know, explained that Depp's inexcusable jests came, quote, just a week after the shooting at a Virginia baseball field, unquote, with, quote, Representative Steve Scalise nearly killed, prompting, there we go, not enough coffee, folks, prompting calls from politicians on both sides of the aisle for more civility, unquote. Concerning Montag, Goodman observed that, quote, calls apparently ignored by Nebraska Democrat state party official Phil Montag caught on tape, unquote, obtained by Omaha's Fox 42. This was caught on tape. This was caught. It was like a hot mic or something. And he said, this Montag said, quote, I'm bleeping glad he got shot. Montag exclaimed in an excerpt before Gutman added that, quote, Montag claims he was taken out of context but was fired anyway by the state's party chair, unquote. To keep alive the notion that the right is equally violent, Gutman dug up 2016 soundbite from Trump supporter and New Hampshire GOP Representative Al Baldessaro, who argued that, quote, Hillary Clinton could or should be put on the firing line and shot, unquote, for what happened in Benghazi. Now, why did Gutman resurrect an old soundbite? Well, Baldessaro was, quote-unquote, welcomed at the White House Friday night for an event. Here's the thing. Gutman didn't say what event it was. Turns out it was the signing ceremony of the new Veterans Affairs bill to become law. Funny how ABC didn't mention that at all in the newscast. Going back to this attempt at supposedly being fair and balanced, our friend Alex Griswold at the Washington Free Beacon found that maybe it's the left that should be worried about policing their own. Since May, Griswold reported in a Thursday piece that 30 Republican members of Congress have either been threatened or shot at. Here, and there's transcripts. So let me put that on American Liberty Radio Podcast for all of you. We know, as individuals, as we're looking at all of this that we have in our lives, we're seeing all of this, we're witnessing all of this, we're seeing the downfall of America right before our eyes, perpetrated, number one, by the far-left liberal loons in Washington, D.C., the progressive party of both the Democrats and Republicans, and facilitated by the mainstream propaganda media. Okay? The mainstream propaganda media is facilitating the downfall of America by, by using the narrative from the Progressive Party and the far-left liberal loons in Washington, D.C. So I just reversed that. You see how I did that? Okay? It's redundant, but I reversed it. So there you go. So that article is on American Liberty Radio Podcast. The whole, I'm from day one, from when I was really, really young, I became a news junkie. Now, I don't know if that's because, well, I want to see what's happening next, or they say coming up on the show, and almost at the end of the half-hour news broadcast, then they mention what it was that was coming up. I don't know if it was that, if it was the mysterious, or whatever. It's like, oh my God, something, I got to stay here to see what's coming. I don't know if it was that or just the fact that I was just, an information, sponge because I wanted to know. But yeah, I mean, I'm a news junkie from way back. I was like 8 or 9 years old, and I just sat in front of the TV every time the news was on. But I found out later on, as I grew into high school and getting out of school and all that, I realized just how much crap they were pushing on people. And it's just, it's just, it just makes you, cringe most of the time when you have this, in front of you. The media is lying to you. You have that right there in front of you. And it's just, you just want to rip somebody apart because of it. You just want to tear their narrative to shreds and just say, would you stop lying, okay, already? InfoWars coverage of the Red Pill Expo conference brings together patriots from around the world. Millie Weaver at InfoWars.com. And this is in not my neighborhood, but this is a few hours away. InfoWars reporter Millie Weaver is live in Bozeman, Montana, covering the Red Pill Expo. The Red Pill Expo is a conference against propaganda and fake news featuring speakers such as Lord Christopher Monckton, G. Edward Griffin, Cynthia McKinney, John Rappaport, and many more. Sean Stone is there. Roger Stone is there. Lots of big heavyweights in this, man. So it's this weekend, by the way. This is a Saturday, so it may end either tonight or tomorrow. But I'm going to put that on American Liberty Radio podcast because I did mention it. If I would have known sooner that this was coming, I would have been there, broadcasting live. I would have. I have to say this. You can say anything you want. I mean, we all have the God-given right to do that, right? We can say anything we want. We can be who we want. We can do whatever it is we need to do. But the question that I have is, to what end? Well, let me give you this, shall I? Let me tell you what's going on. The far left liberal loons in Washington, D.C., and the media whores that are there peddling the bull crap that they peddle, and the big 5 or 6 media corporations pimping these, media whores out. They're the ones who want to shut down free speech. They are the ones who want to, or I should, let me make this clear. They want to shut down everybody else's free speech except their own. They want everyone else to shut up so their narrative can be the only one anybody would ever want. Okay? That's pretty much what it is in that regard. So anybody can say anything they want. Now, the other thing is, when it comes to bringing people together, such as the Red Pill Expo, you can go to the redpillexpo.org for more information, by the way. For people to come together and to expose the far left liberal loons, to expose the media, to expose all of these things, that is what needs to happen. There needs to be more of these Red Pill Expos all over the place. They need to bring it here to Billings is what they need to do. And it literally, we have the opportunity to speak, as Glenn Beck says, speak truth to boldness. In other words, as I interpret that, be strong in what you know, be assured that what you know is true and factual, and then tell people. Okay, so that is what has to happen. Now, unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your perspective of the whole thing, you've got the far left liberal loons out there. You've got the masters of propaganda in Washington, D.C., taking a page out of Edward Bernays. You've got all of that happening. Okay? You've got all of that happening. And you have people out here that believe that crap. And this is why, things like the Red Pill Expo and other conferences like this need to happen more and more and more, so we can expose these people who are pushing and peddling the bull crap for profit. That's just what we need to do. And that's my whole point. So two things. Special report. Senate announces criminal probe of Loretta Lynch. Senate Judiciary Committee looks into Lynch influence over FBI investigation. In other words, she tried to stop it, or she tried to maneuver it in a different direction. So I'm going to put that on American Liberty Radio podcast on Facebook. Why do I use Facebook if they censor people? Why do the rules of Facebook do not apply to freedom of speech? I mean, why am I using it? Well, I'm in the enemy's backyard. I might as well use the tools they have, right? Yeah, so all in all, and I, how can I put this? I want people to understand what's going on, and I'm sure you do too. You want to understand what's going on. But to have people like Kathy Griffin and people like Loretta Lynch and people like Whoopi Goldberg or Joy Behar or any number of those far left liberal mentally ill people to come out and say what they say is, to me, very, very disturbing. And here's why. When they use the First Amendment for license to put that crap out. Well, you say anything we want. No, you can't. Not when it undermines the number one, the capability of people to vote their conscience, and number two, undermine the peace, freedom, liberty, and security of the nation. No, you're treasonous at that point. Your words become weapons of treason. I mean, that's just the way it is. There's no question in my mind that these people like Loretta Lynch and Whoopi Goldberg and Kathy Griffin and all the rest of them on that stupid show, there's no doubt in my mind that they are mentally ill, that their ideas are so corrupt that those ideas, those concepts, those things that they want to say have corrupted their whole being, and therefore they think that they're doing a service to people by informing them of what they are informing them of, but literally, people can see through their bullcrap. And they don't care. And they're going to keep firing until they're out of intellectual bullets. They're going to keep pounding on this and until people get sick and tired of them. And either they're going to say, yeah, whatever, believe what you want, and, whatever, or the producers finally get a freaking clue over there at that network and shut that damn show down. The View is what I'm talking about. Or, and I'm glad they're investigating the Loretta Lynch. I'm glad. I seriously am glad. Because as far as I'm concerned, people like her, literally, and this is only metaphorically speaking, people like her need to be taken out to the woodshed. You know what I'm talking about? Okay? And then you got people like Johnny Depp, who, I can take him or leave him. I really don't care. But he said that the president should be assassinated. And then 24 hours later or less than that, Johnny Depp apologizes for Trump assassination comments. Quote, "When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?" Unquote, Depp had said. And, of course, I'm sure it was taken out of context, obviously, and it was. But John Wilkes Booth, Abraham Lincoln, there you go. I'm just saying, folks, let me steer into this direction because I'm coming up to break at the bottom of the hour here. And I'll tease you with this. You folks out there looking for work, you folks out there understand, the hardships and all of that. You guys are struggling to get your bills paid, whatever. I appreciate that. I'm sure others do, and I support you in your endeavors. Seriously. But here's the problem, folks. And this has been going on for 6 months to over a year, because I heard about this quite a few years ago, but never saw it happening until just in the last several years, and that is... Let me just tell you, Kit Daniels, Infowars.com. I'll tease you with this. I'll talk about this when I get back from the break. McDonald's replacing cashiers with robot kiosks. McDonald's pioneered robot-like automation in the 1950s. So there you go, folks. I'm going to go away now. I'll be back in 2 minutes. This is American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. You know what you want. You want the truth. You want the facts. Without all the BS. American Liberty Radio Network. AmericanLibertyRadio.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Distorted Reality. I am your host, Nick Tucker, and I welcome you to the broadcast.
Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker. DistortedReality.podbean.com and Distorted Reality with Nick Tucker on American Liberty Radio Network.
There's a show that's not afraid to ask questions no one else will ask. Not afraid to say
what no one else will say.
Friday nights at 7 p.m. Listen to Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie, where no topic is off limits. Conspiracy theories, paranormal activities, hoaxes, the unexplained. It's what we talk about. Question everything. Trust no one. Restricted Airspace with Tina Marie. Friday at 7 p.m. on the KCOR Digital Radio Network out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
There is a storm on the horizon, a time of hardship and pain. This battle has been won, but the war against the machines rages on. Skynet's global network remains strong, but we will not quit until all of it is destroyed. This is John Connor. There is no fate but what we make.
Hey, folks. Welcome back. The American Liberty Radio Network podcast right here on the 24th of June, 2017. Hey, I teased you. I teased you before I went to break. So let me get into that. Hey, how many of you folks out there look for the place where you can find the truth and facts and hear the news and know for a fact that it's not going to be, bullcrap? How many of you look for that? You've got, you got Michael Savage out there, you got Alex Jones out there, you got Brian Lang, Nick Tucker, myself. There's a plethora of people telling you the truth. Okay? Plethora of people telling you the truth. Well, how much do you support them? How much do you have in yourself, in that, in your being? How much of that says, you know what? We've got to support independent media. I'm going to ask you to consider at least supporting American Liberty Radio Network. You can do that. It's real simple. You can advertise on the network too if you want, and I'll give you that right now. AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Go to the sponsors page. All of that information that you need to advertise on the network is right there. That's it. Of course, if you have questions, you can always email me. Ask me questions. But here's another way to contribute to American Liberty Radio Network. Become a patron. Yeah. Go to AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Go to the sponsors page. And right down in the bottom there, you'll see Become a Patron. Drop $1 in the kitty to help us keep the lights on around here and help us keep you informed. There we go. So consider it, folks. And whatever you can do, you can do. AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. That would be the sponsors page. And if you want to advertise in the local area in Billings and Laurel and Lockwood and all that, please consider that as well. I would appreciate it, and it's a win-win situation for both of us. So, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. Go to the sponsors page. Of course, folks, if you have any questions whatsoever, you can always email me, AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. AmericanLibertyRadio@USA.com. So there you go. McDonald's replacing cashiers with robot kiosks. McDonald's pioneered robot-like automation in the 1950s. Kit Daniels, Infowars.com, yesterday, 23rd June 2017. McDonald's is replacing at least 2,500 cashiers with robotic kiosks as part of a grand strategy to stay competitive. In other words, they don't want to pay people. They don't want to pay people minimum wage. They don't want to pay anybody, okay? Except for those that are actually there at the, stores and all of that. But as far as cashiers, as far as, front of the house people, and they have burger making machines. You can see part of them and what they do at Burger King. And McDonald's is looking into that as well, I heard. So, yeah, so pretty soon, before you know it, you'll just walk in, punch your stuff up on a kiosk, and within a minute or two, you'll have your food. By the way, you can go read a book. I believe it was by Harry Harrison, the Stainless Steel Rat series. Go look at that. I believe it's in one of the stories in that series, where the stainless steel rat, this person, went up to this kiosk, went up the small, looked like a photo, one of those old 1-hour photo booths in the parking lot. It was apparently, from my imagination, that's what it looked like when I was reading this story. And he walked up, he punched in what he wanted. In less than a minute, his food was there. I believe that's in the Harry Harrison series, Stainless Steel Rat. I'm not quite sure. It could be in something else, but yeah. So it's been around a while, and it's been talked about a while, and McDonald's has been doing this since the 1950s. So, I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. The embattled fast food giant, which recently flirted with the possibility of shutting down hundreds of stores, hoped its experience of the future, that's in quotes, program will reverse stagnant sales. Yeah, no nutrition in a McDonald's hamburger, and it's not real food. I'm just saying, okay. Quote, McDonald's is cultivating a digital platform through mobile ordering and quote-unquote experience of the future. An in-store technological overhaul, most conspicuous through kiosks, ordering, and table delivery, unquote, reported CNBC. Quote, our analysis suggests efforts should bear fruit in 2018, unquote. The company's CEO, Steve Easterbrook, argued that the kiosk won't replace human labor, but will instead transition workers into new roles, such as table service. Interesting. Hey, honey, let's make a reservation at our local restaurant. What do you want? Taco Bell, Burger King, or McDonald's? You see where this is headed, folks? Movie reference, Demolition Man. Just saying, okay? Just saying. Ironically, continuing here, that could theoretically lead to McDonald's workers making $15 an hour if they start making tips from bussing tables. But what is known, however, is that fast food chains are unleashing robotic kiosks to counter rising operating costs, which don't even factor in worker demands for higher wages. Earlier this year, Wendy's announced it was placing kiosks in 16% of its stores as part of a pilot program. Wendy's chief information officer, David Trim, said the kiosks allow customers to avoid long lines during peak hours while increasing kitchen production. Quote, with the demand we are seeing, we can absolutely see our way to having 1,000 or more restaurants live with kiosks by the end of the year, unquote, he stated in February. That said, this article is from, it's on Infowars.com, but it's from Kit Daniels, Infowars.com. That said, as Kit Daniels says, fast food chains must grapple with changing public tastes as consumers flock to healthier alternatives in resistance against high fructose corn syrup and GMOs. The automation highlights the dilemma of fast food employees who are trying to maintain a living at jobs intended to be staffed temporarily by young workers. In fact, McDonald's became a hit in the 1950s due to its highly automated production by efficient workers mimicking robots. Fast food restaurants were also destined to be staffed by robots. They just didn't exist until now. Do you see how far back this goes? 60 years, folks. 60 years plus. This has been going on. This has been in the works for a very long time. Now, you can go research this if you want. You can take keywords from this article and go, bang on the computer keyboard and go find this on your own. But sooner or later, and I'm thinking more sooner than later, you're going to walk into a Wendy's, a Burger King, a McDonald's, Taco Bell, whatever, and you're going to see very few people working there, and you're going to see a whole bank of kiosks. Now, my question is, and logic would state, or I would say my fuzzy logic would state, if you have a bank of kiosks and the customer orders from that, who's in the back making this stuff? Is it automated back there? Do they have a burger making machine back there? Or are there people actually doing work? And if that's the case, how big is the building? Okay? I'm just saying. You know what I'm just saying. It's out there. I love how my computer decides that it doesn't want to work right now, or my browser, so I'm turning off the browser. This is one of the reasons why American Liberty Radio Network needs your support, because we're on Wi-Fi here, okay? So, and it's we need to get wired into the system and go from there. But folks, it's frustrating when I've got a computer that decides, "Hey, I'm happy," and the browser says, "No, you're not." And it's one of those. Oh, it says no connection, so no wonder I couldn't get to anything. The thing that I find incredible, and this is only me, this is just me, I'm not, this is me. It's my perspective, okay? The thing that I find odd is that people will, of course, look at situations and say, well, it could be better if. But I don't see them doing much of anything at that point to make it better. I see a lot of people saying, hey, that's great, but. Well, you have doubts that it's not going to work? I mean, this whole system that we have is incredible in terms of we have the greatest nation in the world. Unfortunately, somebody's trying to, tear it apart and rip it apart and, kill it. But we have people out there that understand these things. We know what is going on. We literally cannot, and I'm going to say this, we cannot take for granted how people are in terms of their concepts of what they want for the current system. We cannot take that for granted. There's many different people out there that want good things for America. A lot of them. We just don't hear about them. They're behind the scenes. They're working here. They're doing this. They're trying to make life better for all of us. But we have a small group of people in Washington, D.C., the Progressive Party, Democratic, Socialist, Republican, Fascist, Progressive Party, who are being ordered by elites and corporates all over the world, namely the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Bilderberg Group, all those. We have these small group of people in Washington, D.C. that are trying to literally undermine everyone's good idea about what America should be. That's primarily it, okay? And when we look at the very nature of these people and we examine the heart of what these people are, and we examine you can see that with what they do. Their actions speak louder than their words. Hence the word politician. It is what it is, and people really look around at America and say, this country can be better if. Yeah, but I don't see them doing anything. I don't see hundreds of thousands of people out in Washington, D.C. marching up to the White House and demanding that these criminal politicians be arrested and thrown in prison. I don't see that. Now, of course, somebody would say, well, there's a coup. Well, the mainstream propaganda media will say, there are a bunch of people actively pursuing, and they'd spin it to their own agenda. They'd spin it, and they know it, and you know it. And it's just one of those things where you have to look at what's there. At least I do. I look at what's there and say, okay, why are these people saying this? Why? Well, number one, why are people in Washington, D.C., why are there certain people in Washington, D.C. that want to undermine the peace, freedom, security, and liberty for America? And number two, why are there people there not trying to stop them? I don't care who you are, they're not trying to stop them, okay? They're not. I don't care who you are. You can look at this thing from every angle. There are people there not wanting to stop these other people trying to undermine and tear apart the United States. And the only way they can do that, and the only way that they can be sustained in doing that, or starting to do that and sustain itself through the rebuilding of America, would be you, the American people who want peace, freedom, liberty, and security in the nation. I mean, isn't that logical? Isn't that logical? Does it not? Does it not say, well, logic and common sense would say, hey, let's make this better. Let's do something to achieve goodness and greatness and build up America. Logic and common sense literally is there. But here's the other thing. And I said it before. It's like there's a certain percentage of people in Washington, D.C. that don't want that to happen. That is why we need hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people to rush Washington, D.C. and literally cut them off from the rest of the country and let the good people of each state decide the direction and the future of their own state. That's a coup against the United States of America. No, that's the duty and responsibility of those who want peace, freedom, liberty, and security for the United States of America. It's in the Constitution. It's in the Declaration of Independence. Here, let me go and read part of that. If my browser now works. Didn't work there for a minute. But I seriously cannot, and this is just my perspective, I cannot and will not put up with somebody's bullcrap anymore. Well, these people are trying to do what's right. No, they're not. They're not doing anything. Okay? And they just don't actually, from my point of view, from my perspective, They don't care. They don't care. They probably never have. But, you know, I mean, it's just, it literally, to me, and again, my perspective, they've taken advantage of the rule of law of the Constitution of the United States of America, these small percentages of people that want to undermine the rest of us. They've taken the principles of the rule of law of the Constitution and said, screw it, we're going to do our thing our way, but guess what? We're going to use this to our advantage. That's what they've done. And the problem is really simple. I mean, when I say the problem is really simple, to them, they've created the problem. So for them, it's simple. Undermine the rest of the United States, disseminate false information, create fake news, blah, 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 blah. Very simple for them to do that because they own it. And they're using the Constitution to their advantage in a very nefarious way. And, you know, frankly, in a very treasonous way. So it's very simple for them to do what they do. And they make it difficult for us to combat that, to defend ourselves against that. Because they will make up the rules as they go along, and they will use the Constitution and the Bill of Rights to say, well, it is our right. No. No. Not going to happen. No. That's a big fat N-O from the people of the United States of America that want peace, freedom, security, and liberty for the nation. We're looking at these folks saying, that's it. And then you have some of these bleeding heart people saying, well, every 4 years we can vote them out. We can do that. Let me just put a bookend on that, okay? And I will say this. If at some point, just within your own life, I'm not talking worldwide politics or geopolitics or anything, just within your own life, just within your own life, if you see something wrong, don't you want to change it? Don't you want to change it? It is our duty and responsibility as citizens of the United States of America to do just that when we see a government that is not going the way that we want. Here, let me tell you. The Declaration of Independence. A unanimous declaration of the 13 united, small u, united states of America. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Oh, let me go further. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That, to secure these rights, Governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that when any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed, will dictate the governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government to provide new guards for their future security. That is the Declaration of Independence. That's part of it. And that tells you exactly what you need to know about this wave of patriotism in the United States of America. The skirmishes, the riots, the rallies that have, been out there in America are directly funded and perpetrated by the Progressive Party, the Democratic Socialists, and the Republican Fascists in Washington, D.C. that are bought and paid for by the likes of Soros, Rothschild, Rockefeller, and ordered by the Bilderberg Group to go out and to undermine the rest of the United States. But the patriots of the United States of America, they know. They know. And it is their duty to stand up for what is right, for what is true, for what America truly stands for. And that's peace, freedom, liberty, and security for the rest of the United States and for its people. Because we have a right and a duty to do just that, and to overthrow our government if our current government does not do the right thing of, by, and for the people. And when I say overthrow, I'm not mincing any words, folks. You're calling for a coup. No, I'm calling for the act of the independence, of the Declaration of Independence. I'm calling on a declaration for the independence of the people of the United States of America. That's what I'm calling on. But the people are going to decide for themselves, not me. I can't order this. I can't do this. You folks out there in America know what I'm talking about. You decide what needs to be done. And you decide how you're going to do it. I'm not calling for a coup. I'm not calling for anything except for the independence of the United States citizens to truly take into consideration the duties and responsibilities we have within the United States. That's all. That's all. You guys decide what you want to do next. I'm here. This is American Liberty Radio Network, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com, AmericanLibertyRadio.weebly.com. And I'm going to go away now, folks, because I got stuff to do. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. American Liberty Radio at USA.com. Sharing the truth one fact at a time without all the BS.